After initiating the reconciliation, I noticed a Durex condom on Ethan's passenger seat. I silently helped him store it away without inquiring or causing a scene. Ethan gave me a complex look and proactively explained, "Take another look, the entire box is here, the ones at home are used up." I hummed in response, resting against the uncomfortable seat and pretending to nap. Until he pulled the car over to the side of the road and softly said, "Let's buy some nutritional supplements. For New Year's Day, we'll go back to your home together to visit our mom." I couldn't hold back the tears and turned my body away from him. My mother had passed away, and he still didn't know. "Avery? Are you listening to me?" Ethan's voice deepened, carrying a strong sense of oppression. With a hoarse voice, I said, "No need. No need to go back anymore, never again." However, he misunderstood my meaning and leaned over to look. "Are you angry? Do you believe me? Otherwise, count them?" As he spoke, he opened the box and poured out all the Durex condoms. His expression was helpless yet indulgent, as if looking at a child throwing an unreasonable tantrum. I wiped my tears and looked over. "I'm really not angry." Ethan leaned forward to hug me, sighing, "You say you're not angry. Didn't you always want me to accompany you back? This New Year's Day, I finally have no social obligations. If we miss it, who knows when the next time will be." His palm gently soothed my back, just like before. Yet, I numbly pushed him away and nodded, "Okay, then let's go." Before my mother died, she kept mentioning that her son-in-law was too busy with work and hadn't seen her. If Ethan had time on New Year's Day, it would be good for him to pay respects. After all, once we divorce later, there would be no reason to ask him to go. I bought many things online, the most being Joss paper. Worried about inflation in the afterlife, I planned to burn more. But on New Year's Day, Ethan didn't come back. As if I had anticipated it, I calmly accepted the possibility that he might not make the high-speed train. So, I took a taxi to the high-speed rail station myself. Until the high-speed train started moving, he called me. "Sorry, something came up here and delayed me. Can you change the ticket, and we'll depart in the evening?" I gazed at the receding scenery outside the window, swallowing my tears. "No need, I've already departed." I didn't even bother to ask him the reason. But Ethan proactively explained, "This time it's really not because of Lily. It's a previously agreed project that suddenly had an issue. I thought I could make it." "Avery, don't make a fuss." I don't know where he got the idea that I was making a fuss. I calmly said, "I know you're busy, you can come tomorrow. Waiting one more day doesn't matter, let's leave it at that." Ethan breathed a sigh of relief. "Be good and wait for me. When I arrive, I'll make stewed mutton for our mom. She always said my cooking is good, it must have been years since she last had it. This time I absolutely. I'm tired, I want to sleep for a bit." I interrupted his reverie, unable to hold back the tears streaming down my face. I really wanted to shout out loud, "My mom can't eat it anymore. What were you doing earlier?" But I was tired. I didn't want to argue. Arguing too much had exhausted me. It was as if I were a person without self-respect, shamelessly begging for his attention. As long as he comes. As long as he can kowtow and burn incense, so my mom can see it. It wouldn't be in vain that my mom raised him for so many years. Nor in vain that I picked him up back then, and for the following 10+ years, he ate at my house every day. But in the end, I overestimated him. My uncle saw that I came back alone again, and his expression wasn't good. In the evening, my aunt tentatively asked, "Are you having a conflict with Ethan? Actually, when your mom was hospitalized, she noticed something but didn't mention it for fear of hurting you. You should temper your personality, with your parents gone, you only have your husband to rely on. Having a child soon is the most important thing right now." I listened quietly and told her that Ethan would come tomorrow. I explained, in recent years, his company's business hasn't been good, so he always has to entertain. When my mom was hospitalized, he always wanted to come, rest assured, we have no issues. I didn't want my family to know about my plans to divorce. I couldn't be bothered to deal with their mediation. But I didn't expect Ethan to break his promise again. In the morning, he told me he was on his way to the high-speed rail station. My uncle specially killed a chicken he had raised for a year, and my aunt went to buy vegetables early in the morning. It's good that he's coming back. He didn't even appear at your mom's funeral, and the villagers all thought you were abandoned. Now it's perfect to shut their mouths. You should come back often in the future and visit home. My aunt busied herself in the kitchen while nagging. But after preparing a full table of dishes, none of the calls I made to Ethan were answered. Let's eat first. I forced myself to speak, looking at them guiltily. My aunt and uncle exchanged a glance and nodded one after another. Okay, otherwise let's eat first. I'll go get your cousin and younger cousin to come over, we can't finish so many dishes. It'll be good for them to accompany you up the mountain later. As my aunt spoke, she busily went to get bowls and chopsticks. In winter, the food on the table had lost its heat after half an hour. I forced back my tears, smiling with great difficulty. My uncle suddenly sat beside me and ruffled my hair. You've always been independent since childhood, do what you want. If your dad were here, he wouldn't bear to see you suffer such grievances. Your uncle's home will always be your home, you still have family. Don't listen to your aunt, people should live freely. I smiled at my uncle, got up, and went to the bathroom. I came out only after crying. My uncle and aunt were reheating the dishes in the kitchen when my phone rang. It was Ethan calling. She's hospitalized and in surgery. It's a matter of life and death, I can't ignore her. Avery, wait until tomorrow I'll come pick you up. By the way, I'll bring Mom over to stay for a few days. I listened numbly to his words, emotions churning in my chest. I didn't want to get angry, my mom always said, Avery, don't always get upset, it's not worth it. Let's live smoothly. Turn a blind eye, decades will pass. Look, I had so many complaints about your dad before, but after he passed, I only remember his good. But Ethan was really bullying me too much. You don't need to come, when I get back, I have something to discuss with you. I said coldly and hung up. When Ethan called again, I hung up. His messages then came to my phone, don't be unreasonable, be good and wait. If there was anyone else who could help, she wouldn't have called me. Last time, she wanted to apologize to you, but I didn't let her. Avery, you know your own temper, I was afraid you'd hit her again. Isn't it better for us to live our lives well? Why make a fuss over small things? He sent many, but I only read a few. At this time, my cousin and younger cousin had returned. I turned off my phone and ignored Ethan. The meal was eaten with everyone lost in their own thoughts. When we went to my mom's grave, my cousin and younger cousin waited not far away. I sat on the ground, looking at the person in the photo, and tears fell as I looked. I had many words in my heart but couldn't say them. Before leaving, I told her, sorry, I lost the son-in-law you liked. Mom won't blame me, right? At that moment, the wind rose, as if fingers gently brushed my face. I held back tears and left down the mountain without looking back. The next day, I took the high-speed train back to Haicheng. While on the train, the divorce agreement I had previously commissioned the lawyer to draft was sent to my phone. I looked it over carefully and asked the other party to revise a few minor details. I didn't want his company, I had other plans. But I wanted all the cash and properties under our names, valued in 8 figures. Unexpectedly, I encountered Ethan at the high-speed rail station. We stared at each other. Beside him stood Lily, who was supposedly in surgery yesterday. It seemed it wasn't a life-or-death surgery after all. Since the next day she could get out of bed, with natural makeup and looking proper. Lily's eyes were red with anxiety, and she hurriedly said, don't blame him, didn't I urge him to come find you? Of course, I know a wife is more important than a friend. When I called him, I thought he had nothing going on during the holiday and could help. I didn't expect him to hide going to your home because he was afraid I'd worry. I'm really sorry. You won't blame him, right? Ethan came to his senses and subconsciously protected Lily behind him. I had hit Lily before. From then on, he never let me contact her directly again. At this moment, Ethan said in a deep voice, "This is my fault, don't take it out on her." The scene before me made me think of the phrase mutual devotion. I nodded and looked at Lily. "Since you're here too, why not come home and sit for a while?" She looked surprised, and Ethan frowned tightly. I teasingly looked at Ethan. "Didn't you say there's nothing between you? Since she's a friend, are you afraid to bring her home to sit?" I walked in front, with Ethan following behind with Lily. "Don't speak so sarcastically, it's unpleasant. She's just a young girl, scared by you last time, how dare she go to our home?" I stopped, looked past him at Lily. Our eyes met, and Lily suddenly raised the corners of her mouth, with a hint of provocation in her eyes. "Since sister invited, of course I'll go." I looked at Ethan again. "Be a man, the young girl is braver than you." As soon as I got home, I went to the study. I printed the divorce agreement, bound it, and went to the living room to hand it to Ethan. "Take a look, if there's no issue, sign it. Today, you can take your things and leave with her. The company's initial shares include my mom's $200,000, I don't want that. But the postmarital assets and properties are mine, give me everything except the company." I said it all in one breath. Ethan's expression went from shock to anger. "What nonsense are you spouting? Does your mom know about this? You went through all this trouble just to say this? Even temper tantrums have limits." I lowered my eyes and said faintly, "I've already informed her." Which mother doesn't want her child to be happy? She was good to you because she wanted you to be good to me, no matter how much she liked you, how could that surpass her own child? So, you don't need to worry about her thoughts. At this point, I glanced at Lily. At that moment, she couldn't suppress the corners of her mouth, and her gaze toward Ethan was determined to win. I smiled and continued to Ethan, "Now that we've reached this point, you don't think my mom would still have a good face for you, do you?" Ethan grew angrier. "What did you say to her again?" "How many times do I have to say it? Nothing happened between Lily and me." I threw the divorce agreement in his face and said faintly, "Does something only count if you go to bed? Who did you adjust your passenger seat for? Our wedding anniversary, my birthday, my mom's birthday. Which special day this year didn't you spend with her? Have all her relatives and friends died out? Does a minor surgery require you, a married man unrelated to her, to accompany her? Ethan, we're all smart people, don't treat others like fools, okay?" At first, my tone was calm, but toward the end, my voice couldn't help trembling. But Ethan repeated with a cold face, "I won't divorce." He added, "If we divorce, our mom will be heartbroken." I subconsciously shouted, "My mom is gone. How could she be heartbroken?" After shouting, I felt a spasm in my stomach and couldn't help curling up. My gaze locked fiercely on Ethan as I viciously said, "When you bullied her daughter, did you ever think she would be heartbroken?" Ethan suddenly looked up. "What do you mean gone?" "Avery, how can you speak like that?" Lily couldn't help but say, "After all, she's your own mother. Even if Auntie doesn't agree to your divorce, you can't say such things. Auntie must be for your own good. If you leave Ethan, who else will be so good to you? These years, relying on small favors from childhood, you've been causing trouble everywhere. No other man in the world could accept it. If you keep playing hard to get like this, if Ethan really doesn't want you, you'll have plenty to cry about." Ethan's gaze shifted from Lily's face to mine. He breathed a sigh of relief, then angrily said, "No matter how much you mess around, there should be limits. I won't divorce you, give up on that idea. If it's because of Lily, I'll handle it." Lily beside him quickly knelt on the ground. "I really didn't think it would turn out like this, it's all my fault. Sister, hit me, I won't dodge, it's all my fault." She cried very sadly. I envied her a bit, still able to cry so unrestrainedly. Ethan frowned and lifted her up, glanced at me, and quickly let go. Then he said to Lily, "You go, don't contact me anymore. Even if you're dying, don't call me, I'll block your number." Lily stood there with a pale face. Her body trembled as she looked at me despairingly. "Your goal is achieved. Didn't you just want Ethan to stop caring about me?" I'm alone in Haicheng, helpless. If not for him, I don't know if I could survive. But, yes, I deserve it. I should die. I'll do as you wish right now. With bloodshot eyes, she glared at me and rushed out. Throughout, she didn't give Ethan any look. Yet, it filled Ethan's eyes with anxiety. The door was closed. Ethan, who had just said her life or death had nothing to do with him, looked at my expression several times, hesitating to speak. I spoke for him. Go chase her. If something really happens, you'll blame me. She just had surgery, her body hasn't recovered yet. Whatever it is, wait until I come back to discuss. I won't agree to divorce. I don't think there's any fundamental issue between us. Avery, you should rein in your temper. Ethan hurriedly grabbed his coat and chased out. I calmly began packing things, bundling all his personal items. In the evening, Ethan's message came, let's have dinner together tonight, I've booked your favorite restaurant. I don't like it anymore. His understanding of me was still stuck 2 years ago. In 2 years, my tastes had long changed. And that restaurant, I had seen it many times on Lily's social media. Someone is treating, letting me eat whatever, he'll pay. Little lazy pig slept until noon, good thing someone delivered takeout. I heard they don't deliver, don't know how he managed it? He. Made me angry. I'll eat a lot, spend all someone's money. But he's too rich, can't spend it all, what to do? So worrying. Clearly, Ethan was extremely busy, often sleeping only 3 or 4 hours. Yet, he always squeezed out time to create romance about them. At this time, Ethan's call came to my phone, I hung up directly. The doorbell rang, it was the moving company people I had hired. Moving so late? 2 young guys came over and sighed. I nodded, pointed to the packed items in the living room. Please call this number after delivery. I handed over the paper with the phone number. The 2 exchanged a glance, asked no more, and started moving things. The house suddenly felt much emptier. I sent the prepared evidence to the lawyer, please prepare for litigation proceedings. I thought I'd have insomnia, but surprisingly slept well. I slept until noon, lay in bed, ordered takeout, and got up. Ethan's dozen missed calls and dozen messages, I ignored them all. After washing up and putting on makeup, the takeout arrived. Ethan arrived at the same time. His complexion was poor, without waiting for me to speak, he squeezed in. I ate takeout while watching a show, treating him like air. Until he couldn't stand it and said, is this necessary? This time you're overdoing the fuss. Without lifting my head, I faintly told him, I'm serious, in a few days, you should receive notice, since you don't want to divorce, let's go through litigation. Just because I didn't accompany you home on New Year's Day? He had done many things sorry to me, yet picked the most trivial one to mention. I smiled, talking about this is meaningless, I don't want to argue with you. But Ethan was unwilling. He's very stubborn, he grabbed my phone and turned off the video. When did you become so unreasonable? Even if it was a stranger having surgery, I couldn't ignore it. I looked over impatiently, suddenly realizing my emotions toward him were only disgust. My mood suddenly became clear and relieved. There are so many strangers in the hospital, hundreds lying in ICU every day, go care for them. Why is Lily special? When your subordinate had cancer surgery, I didn't see you so concerned. Is self-deception interesting? But if there must be a reason for divorce, it's that I don't like you anymore. His pupils suddenly contracted. Seeing I wasn't joking, panic flashed in his eyes. How is that possible? Our feelings over so many years. I smiled mockingly, yes, so many years of feelings didn't prevent you from being ambiguous with others. I've said it's not. Whether it is or not, you know in your heart, I'm not a fool. I interrupted him with a louder voice. You just relied on me liking you, on me not being able to leave you, deliberately testing boundaries repeatedly. Ethan, we're adults, you might not leave me for her. But you enjoy being pursued by her, admired by her, enjoying appearing as a savior in her world. Ethan was silent for a long time before saying, I won't in the future. Today I made it clear to her, she decided to leave Haiching. As you wish, I won't contact her anymore. I just saw her and thought of my past self, I wanted to help her. At this point, his eyes reddened, full of brokenness. As if I were the aggressive one, and he the victim. So, don't divorce, okay? Besides, our mom wouldn't agree. I shook my head, no, she would agree. When I left my hometown, my uncle told me my mom had made a will. The money she invested in Ethan's company startup was later given to her as original shares by Ethan. My mom's will left that portion of shares entirely to me. My uncle said, before your mom passed, she asked your aunt and me to take good care of you. She also said if you want to divorce, we shouldn't persuade you. Ethan, that child might have great prospects, but may not be a good husband. Good child, you don't need to hide from us. How is that possible? Ethan's voice pulled me back to reality. He immediately dialed my mom's number. But the ringtone came from the room. He was stunned, glanced at me, and walked to the bedroom. When did you bring our mom here? How didn't I know? Mom, listen to me explain, this is just Avery messing around, you know her personality, His voice stopped abruptly because there was no one in the bedroom. Ethan looked back at me in disbelief. Why is mom's phone with you? I lost my appetite and said faintly, because she's gone. I couldn't bear to cancel the number, so I kept it with me. What does gone mean? How is that possible? Avery, now is not the time for jokes, speak properly. I took a deep breath and calmly told him, gone means gone, you'll never be able to apologize to her. Ethan, a month ago, on a heavy snow day when you were building snowmen with Lily, my mom passed away in the hometown hospital. I called you, and you hung up. I messaged you to unfreeze my card because the funeral needed money. But what was your reply? At the time, he only replied one sentence, you can have money, come back to apologize and admit wrong. After that, he ignored me. I held the phone and called him dozens of times, none were answered. Later, he simply turned off his phone. To hold a proper funeral, I borrowed money from relatives. After everything was done, I returned to Haiching, bowed my head to admit wrong, I was wrong, shouldn't have hit someone, shouldn't be jealous, shouldn't defy you. Please unfreeze my card. I owed others money and promised to repay by month end. Ethan was very satisfied with my reaction, he hugged me, good that you know you were wrong, don't make such a fuss again. Lily and I are innocent, the young girl is alone in Haiching, not easy, how aggrieved she was after you hit her. I'll apologize to her on your behalf, let's put this behind us. I listened numbly to his words without any rebuttal. Until he unfroze my card. I quickly repaid the relative's money and used my ID to get a bank card of my own. For over a month, I've been collecting various information. Evidence of him spending money on Lily, their various ambiguities. And company matters I've been slowly understanding and infiltrating. I must know Ethan's depths to gain the initiative in the divorce. Originally, I wanted him to see my mom again. After all, my mom was like half a mother to him. She genuinely liked him. Before Ethan and I were together, she introduced him to everyone. This is my son Ethan, good grades and good character, very nice. Later, when Ethan and I got together, she was most emotional. These years, I've treated you as half a son, didn't expect you to really become my son-in-law. Mom knows you're excellent, smart too. Don't expect anything else, just hope you treat Avery well. Her dad passed early, family spoiled her, her temper is a bit arrogant, bear with her more. Even when Ethan started his business short of money, my mom gave him her retirement savings. Mom believes you're doing legitimate work, success or not aside, don't pressure yourself too much. For a couple's life, money is important, but health more so. Of course, for a long time, Ethan was good to her too. Various supplements he bought more diligently than I. A massage chair worth over $10,000, he sent home without blinking. Probably after Lily appeared, his leisure time suddenly became busy. The time I hit someone was because of Lily's social circle post. When my mom was ill and hospitalized, I called Ethan. He immediately said he'd go back with me. But less than half an hour later, a stranger added me on WeChat, "Your husband won't accompany you back." I subconsciously felt it absurd, but still inexplicably accepted. The other social post was from 1 minute ago. Sick, my secret crush carried me to the hospital, who understands my feelings? Such a pity, someone wants to use the same trick to steal him, why not go die? With trembling hands, I opened the accompanying image. The side profile was clearly Ethan's photo. At that moment, my mentality collapsed. Even more unacceptable was someone cursing my mom like that. But I still believed Ethan, thinking he had reasons. Until Ethan called, saying there was a work meeting, couldn't accompany me home. So, on the way to the high-speed rail station, I had the driver stop at the hospital entrance for 20 minutes. Spent 5 minutes finding Lily. Hit her for 5 minutes, was pulled away by Ethan and confronted for 5 minutes. Later, seeing I couldn't hit anymore, I left. Impossible, how could you not notify me of such a big thing? Avery, our mom was so good to you, how can you curse her? Speak properly, whatever you want, but don't say such things. Ethan visibly panicked. Seeing the plea in his eyes, I only felt irony. Don't say our mom, that's my mom, not yours. Your mom abandoned you long ago, when you were 10. His face suddenly turned pale, staring at me in disbelief. The hatred in his eyes was clear. Yet I laughed. Laughed until tears came. Finally, I used the sharpest knife to stab him. But compared to the pain I endured, what was this? You keep saying you and Lily are innocent, thinking you're upright. But when my mom was hospitalized ill, where were you? When her funeral needed money, you froze my card, leaving me penniless. I shamelessly begged relatives for loans, then after the funeral, shamelessly begged you to reconcile. Ethan, one can't live like this. I finally cried out loud. In the past 20 years, I undoubtedly loved him. I trusted him unconditionally, depended on him wholeheartedly, in exchange for today's situation. The man was my own choice, I lost, I accept. But he can't shamelessly say he loves my mom. Back then, I should have let him die in the gossip at age 10. Ethan stumbled away. I don't know where he went. The lawyer called to discuss litigation divorce matters. In the end, he suggested it's best to agree to divorce. The evidence you provided is insufficient to prove your husband cheated. And even if proven, he can't be completely cleaned out. At most, property division will tilt in your favor. I softly hummed in agreement. Let him just communicate with Ethan. After hanging up, I arranged for someone to change the door lock, then packed and went to the northeast. My mom always mentioned wanting to go play. Haven't seen such deep snow, really want to see. At that time, I had bought tickets, but Ethan stopped me. Wait a bit, wait until I'm done with this busy period to take you. It's best to drive self-tour there, 2 people alternating driving isn't tiring. Besides, I'm worried about your safety. This wait was 2 years. When my mom passed, he flew thousands of miles, only because Lily was ill. After she recovered, he accompanied her for 3 days and 2 nights. Saw ice sculptures, ate frozen pears, tasted various flavored candied haws. But despite this, he still thought there was nothing between them. Perhaps, in men's eyes, not lying together doesn't count as anything. When the plane landed, I received Ethan's call. His voice was hoarsely unlike him. Can we not divorce? Sorry. After saying that, he cried. Choking, he said, I promised our mom to take good care of you, for a lifetime. Avery, I can't break my word. After disappearing for days, this is what he came up with? Hearing his words, I only felt irony. Haven't you broken your word few times? You didn't care for me, the one you cared for is Lily. Sorry, my family has only one daughter, I have no sisters. Ethan was silent for a while. Only his sniffling sounds remained. I impatiently hung up, he called again. Seeing I didn't answer, he started bombarding WeChat messages. The Lily matter was my fault. I did have a fluke mentality, I thought as long as we didn't cross the line, you'd forgive me. Besides caring for her, we had no transgressive behavior. I found the photo in my phone and sent it directly. In the photo, Lily on tiptoes, kissing him under fireworks. Prosperous and brilliant, the world only had them two. I received this photo at my mom's memorial hall. You should know who sent it, right? Ethan, self-deception is meaningless. I'll have my lawyer give you the divorce agreement. No more messages popped up on WeChat. Oh yo, girl, don't stand in the wind, it's cold. If the man doesn't work, change one. Health is important, don't ruin your body. Such a voice suddenly came to my ear. I looked up and met a face full of concern. She handed me a tissue and said, if really no good, beat him over the head while he's sleeping, cover with blanket and beat. Injuring or disabling is fine, counts as domestic violence anyway, no big issue. I was amused by her words. The aunt quickly laughed too. Look, how handsome the kid is when smiling, don't hold in the sadness. Okay. I nodded and bid farewell to the aunt. Carrying my mom's phone, I toured the Northeast. Until the return day, my lawyer contacted me. Ethan agreed to sign, but wants to see me once. On the meeting day, Ethan talked a lot. From when I sat down, he didn't stop. Time flies, we've known each other for 20 years. The day my mom left, I thought my life was over like that, cursed by people and too lazy to retort. Your appearance was like a light, from then I set on you. Not to mention our mom. At this point, he choked for a while. It's me who let her down. I thought it was just a minor illness, didn't expect not to see the last face. Avery, before she left, did she mention me? What did you say? I pulled out the divorce agreement and handed it over. Didn't want to say more nonsense. But Ethan insisted, looking at me, please, you know, I care about her a lot. Nausea rose in my stomach. I forced back emotions and said faintly, she didn't mention you. At such a moment you weren't there, she probably guessed something. Ethan's facial expression darkened. With trembling hands, he signed, looked at me again, it's me who let you down. I took back the divorce agreement and notified him of the divorce registration date. Yes, you let us down, but I don't plan to forgive you. So don't apologize, it's disgusting. Perhaps my mom's departure struck him hard. In the later divorce process, Ethan was very cooperative. The day we came out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the sun was good. He tried to hold my hand, but I dodged. We can still be family. Any issues in the future, you can find me. Ethan smiled bitterly, explaining he really had no contact with Lily. I looked at that opening and closing mouth, didn't listen to a word. Only felt my whole body relax. But Ethan was right about one thing, we'll meet again. Or rather, he'll actively seek me. The night I got the divorce certificate, I reported his company's violations to the relevant system. Not major issues, but even the best company can't withstand various investigations. While relevant units investigated, I posted Ethan and Lily's deeds online. I didn't have time to screenshot Lily's post cursing my mom, but all after that. Any message she sent me, even if withdrawn later, I screenshot immediately. Dozens of screenshots of posts and chat records. Netizens summarized in one sentence, no cheating but worse than cheating, such scum men are the most disgusting. This gossip news, low harm but extremely insulting. Especially when Ethan's company was under investigation, many piled on. I watched coldly as he busied himself frantically. Many late nights, he called me, I answered none. After over half a year's turmoil, Ethan's company couldn't hold and went bankrupt. And I finally answered his call. You did it on purpose. Not wanting the company during divorce was waiting for this day? Avery, I didn't expect you to be like this. His voice was low, I watched him from not far. That man who once thought he reached life's peak, trying to save others, now in disarray. Emaciated, he stood under the even heavy rain, curling into a ball. Without waiting for me to speak, he continued, have you vented? All this is my retribution, I accept. Now, can you look at me again? Give me a chance to pursue you anew. I don't know how he said that so righteously. But kindly I told him, I vented, but how could I look back at you? After all, I like cleanliness, don't like dirty things. Then hung up. After learning his recent situation, I specially returned to the country. Just to see his downfall with my own eyes. Now seeing it, I suddenly felt it's meaningless. 20 years of love, from when he strayed, became a pool of decayed rotten meat. Stinky and disgusting. No matter how much revenge, it can't change my mom's secret tears before death. Those days, she didn't mention Ethan. Even if someone brought up, she only said young people busy with work, no time is normal. But I know, my mom cared. I called begging Ethan. He refused to return. I can go back if you apologize to Lily, you can't be so barbaric. Later, when I heard Ethan's news again, he had passed away. That year, he was only 35, suicide. He went to Lily, saying to take her out of misery. The two got married soon after. After marriage, Ethan, under the pretext of comeback, loaned over $1 million in Lily's name. Also loaned hundreds of thousands through irregular platforms. But he didn't start a business, squandered the money. When Lily found out, already heavily in debt, usurers blocking the door daily. Ethan seemed to revenge her, saying his life was ruined by Lily. When my friend told me this, seeing my indifferent face, also relieved. I just wanted to tell you, it's all over. I sipped sweet wine, smiled and nodded. Yes, all over. Ethan was killed by Lily. Lily went to prison. Heard before dying, he laughed saying, my mom died from your curse, I can't let you pay for it. Then use my life to send you to prison. Many thought impossible, who is so stupid. But I think, this is Ethan's style. Initially, Lily's post shown to me then deleted, I forgot to screenshot. But last time I saw Ethan, I sent him a PS said screenshot with same content. My mom almost raised him for 20 years. He exhausted love for me, but wouldn't forget my mom's kindness. Rarely back, I returned to hometown. Uncle mentioned Ethan, he came almost every year, at first we drove him out. Later seeing him persist, we took him to see your mom. This child, perhaps really knows he was wrong, but your actions weren't wrong. Don't blame yourself. I lowered my head and smiled. Won't blame myself, nothing to blame. Life is choices, chosen, must bear. I can bear it.